Hello and welcome to episode 5 of GlowFitTV, the place to come to get your glow back through fitness, nutrition and healthy living. I'm Michelle Hext, your host. Today's session was going to be a weight circuit, but I had a small accident on my bike over the last few days, so we're going for plan B, which is equally as good, I promise. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the best form of cardio training for weight loss. Some people are still under the illusion that you need to do hours of cardio every week to be able to lose weight, and that's simply not the case anymore. I've been using high intensity intervals for years now for myself and also my clients and students, and have found that that is the best way to lose weight. So I'm going to give you some examples of some high intensity interval training that you can do using various types of equipment. Running is obviously going to be the most efficient one because you work nice and hard and you're using your whole body when you run, so it's the most efficient and gets the best results, but not everybody can run and not everybody wants to. Some people have injuries that prevent them from running, so we have plenty of options, don't worry about that. But for those of you who can run, one of the things that we want to be able to do is get our heart rate up nice and high, but we always need to make sure that we warm up first. And you can do these on a treadmill or you can do them outside. Treadmill's probably a little bit better just because of the timing or the way the timing is, and it means that you can keep a better eye on the timing. But if you have to do it outside, then that's just as good. So for the running type of training that I'd like you to do is 1 minute run, 1 minute walk. If you're super fit, you can run at a really high speed and then slow jog the recovery phase. But for me, if I'm doing really high intensity intervals, I'll be running at 17, 18, 19 on the treadmill, and I walk my recovery simply because I want to be able to go again nice and hard by the next minute. So ideally, really smash yourself in that minute and then walk your recovery. And if you do that and you make sure that you take that full minute to walk your recovery, usually you're pretty well recovered and ready to go by the next interval. So starting with 1 minute walk, 1 minute running. And the great thing is the fitter you become, you can still challenge yourself by making it a faster speed. If you get to the top speed on your treadmill, then you can start to incline, but I haven't met too many people who are there just yet. So as I say, 1 minute walk, 1 minute run, always warm up first and always cool down at the end. So very easy, 1 minute on, 1 minute off. Those of you that have access to a stationary bike, this is one of my favourite exercises, and I use this with my girls when I train with them in the mornings, and they have a love-hate relationship with it. They know that it gets great results, but it does hurt a bit. So the first thing that we do is we warm up on the stationary bike, and then for a minute we crank the tension up so that we've got a lot of weight on the pedals, and we stand and we do a standing hill climb. When that minute is over, we sit down, reduce the tension, and then spin for 30 seconds, and then recover for 30 seconds, and then we do it again. So that's a great way to use your stationary bike for intervals. Another way that you can do it is hill climb for a minute, recover for a minute. Or you can hill climb for 30 seconds, recover for 30 seconds. So keep the ratio roughly the same. Don't go any longer than a minute because then your intensity is dropped. So minute on, minute off, or as I say, hill climb for 1 minute, spin like a sprint for 30 seconds, and then recover for 30 seconds. If your fitness isn't quite there, you may need to stretch out that recovery phase so that you're recovering for a minute or so. On the rower, exactly the same thing. So we would row hard for a minute, recover for a minute, row hard for a minute, recover for a minute. Same thing on the elliptical. Probably better to stick with 20 to 30 second sprints on the elliptical. So flat out for 20 or 30 seconds, and then for the remainder of that minute is your recovery phase. For those of you who are super fit and want an even bigger challenge, one of my favourites is stair sprints. If you're lucky enough to have access to a flight of stairs that has 50 or 70 stairs, that's fantastic and you're spoiled. That's my favourite thing. Failing that, if you can find a hill, it's going to do just as good a job. After my babies, the thing that got me back in shape within a very short amount of time was stair repeats. So sprinting to the top, recovery jogging on the way down, sprinting again, and doing those for as long as I could. Great way to strengthen, great way to build speed. I was still competing in Taekwondo back then, so really good leg speed and power, and it's also a great way to get fit. So what you would do is find a hill, if you don't have stairs, that takes you roughly 20-25 seconds to sprint up flat out. So you sprint as fast as you can. When you get to the top, slow jog down to recover, compose yourself, then go again. And you might do that in blocks of 3 or even blocks of 5, and then take a couple of minutes recovery and then do it again. And ideally, when we're doing intervals, we want to start with around 20 minutes of the interval phase. So your warm-up isn't included and your cool-down isn't included, but that interval phase in the middle, we want to stick to around 20 minutes to start with. You really don't ever need to stretch that out, because as you become fitter, you just make the intensity higher by going faster or the incline steeper. But you know, stretching it out to 30 or 40 minutes, 3 or 4 times a week is perfect, especially if you really want to shed that body weight. Just on the hills, you can also do those on the treadmill as well. So you can start with the incline quite high on the treadmill, and then you jump on, so you're standing on the side of the treadmill, jump on, sprint the hill sprint, and then jump off. Your recovery is static in this situation because you don't get the recovery jog back down the hill, but you can still use the same principles with the hill sprint. So on the side of the treadmill, jump on, sprint for 20 or 30 seconds, try and hold out for as long as you can, then get off and recover. You're usually going to need around 30 seconds to recover. What else have I got? You can pretty much do intervals with anything. If you've got a boxing bag, you can box hard for a minute and then recover for 30 seconds and then go a minute and then recover. Skipping is another thing. So skip for a minute and then you can recover for a minute, then skip for a minute. So there's plenty of ways that you can do intervals on any cardio equipment that you can think of. You can do intervals on. So great way to train, gets great results very quickly as far as weight loss goes, but also in terms of fitness. Your fitness increases very quickly. Now, just on the weight loss side of things, if you are eating correctly to lose weight, then you really only need to do these interval sessions probably 4 times, maybe 5 times a week. And in those short time phases, you don't need to do hours of cardio. If you're not eating right, you're going to need to do more. So make sure your diet is nice and tight, and then you only really need to do short stints of high intensity cardio. You don't want to run every single day because it's just too taxing on the body. So you would break it up where you might run one day, do bike the next, perhaps a boxing bag the next day. Trying to run 2 to 3 times would be good, and the bike would come underneath the running in terms of intensity and in terms of results. So as I say, you can do those sessions 4 or 5 times a week, and you can also use a shorter time frame for your intervals as a prelude to your weight training. So as your warm-up, you would also introduce some intervals. So you might do 10 minutes of intervals on the bike or 10 minutes of intervals on the treadmill before you hit the weights. Make sure your heart rate's nice and high before you start, so that way you're burning a lot more calories over the course of your weights workout, simply because your heart rate starts higher and stays higher throughout the duration of your weight training session. That's about all I have for you today, and if you have any topic that you'd like me to talk about, please be sure to email me via the contact page and let me know what your requests are, and I'd be happy to talk about that subject in an episode further down the track. It's Friday, weekend is just around the corner, so make sure you enjoy your Friday, and please don't forget to join us next Friday afternoon for episode 6 of GlowFitTV.